गणानां त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पतान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनं श्रीमहागणाधिपतये नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। Om. Dear friends, we are in this Viveka Chudamani. In the last class, we read the 51st shloka. That is, the student went and requested the Guru. He asked a few questions, and after listening to those questions, the teacher was quite happy because the student had put the right questions. So he congratulated the disciple. Yeah, you are dhanyosi, krutakrutyosi. You are a really blessed one. You are indeed putting some right questions. Krutakrutyosi. You have almost achieved you have already achieved your goal, because putting the right question, it involves the person's maturity in understanding and then also the capacity of that man to reach the goal. So krutakrutyosi. Pavitam te kulam tvaya, your whole clan, your whole family has been purified by your sincerity and by your earnestness, by your shraddha, etc. So that shloka is over. And the next shloka was also over. That is, Runamochana kartara pitussanti sutadayah. That is, the teacher now is talking about the importance of effort by oneself. That is, the teacher is not going to drag you and take you to the goal. Teacher can only monitor. Teacher can only tell you, you do this, do that. But then he can't lead you there. He will only guide you, but he can't physically take you there. One has to travel the path on his own. That is because Chitta Shuddhi is the most important component. Chitta Shuddhi is a pure mind. A pure mind, if the student does not have a pure mind, whatever the teacher says, it will fall flat. It will be of no use. So the Chitta Shuddhi, with a lot of Chitta Shuddhi, having given up various things, then having purified his mind with what is this Karma Yoga, then Dhyana Yoga, etc., then he has to go to the teacher. That is what the student has done. So that is why the teacher is saying, Rudamochana kartara pitussanti sutadayah. There may be people who can redeem you of various other types of debts. Suppose you have taken some 1 lakh rupees from somebody. So your son or your somebody else, your relative, the man will redeem you from that debt by paying it. But this particular bandhamochana karta, this bondage, relief from bondage, it has to be by you only. It is your own bondage. You have to only understand it. Bondage goes only by understanding and not by anything else. So that is what he is saying then in the next shloka also. That is 52nd shloka. Mastakanyasta bharadir dukkham anyair nivaryate क्षुधादि कृत दुःखं तु विना स्वेन न केनचित्. That is, mastaka nyasta bharadehe. Suppose on the head, mastaka means a head. Mastaka nyasta means something which is kept on the head. Mastaka nyasta bharam means some burden or some weight which is kept on the head. Suppose somebody is carrying a huge load on his head. Somebody else can come and then he can give him some relief by taking away that particular load from on his head. So that is what he says. Mastakanyasta bharadehe. Bharadehe dukkham. Dukkham means the sorrow arising out of the burden which is there on your head. So that can be taken out by others. Anyaihi nivaryate. That is, somebody else can take it away. Somebody else can free you from that type of burden. But this burden, this thing, for example, Shudhadi kruta dukkham tu. Shudha means hunger. Suppose you are hungry, somebody else is eating food, your hunger is not gone. So your hunger remains. So Shudhadi kruta dukkham tu. So this sorrow which is arising out of hunger. So this Brahmajnana the man is thirsting. He is thirsting for that, or he is hungry for that Brahmajnana. So unless he has that jnana, he can't get rid of this bondage. So that is the shloka. Shodhadi kutta dukkham tu vinasvena, except by oneself. Vinasvena, svena vina, tena vina. That is trutiya. It comes. Vinasvena na kenachit. It cannot be it cannot be cut off, it cannot be relieved by anybody else. One has to travel one's own path. This unburdening can be done by physical unburdening, can be done by somebody else. But then relief from hunger can be given, can be achieved only by you. You have to take food. Then the next shloka also is in the same vein. Pathyam aushadha seva cha kriyate yena rogina arogya siddhir drustasya nanya anusthita karmana. Pathyam aushadha seva cha yena rogina kriyate. Pathyam means, so there is a restricted diet. That is what is called pathyam. Patham means path. Pantha is a path. Pathyam means something which has been prescribed. Patha is path. Pathyam is something which is Pathi yogyam, that is pathyam. That is that which is suitable for patha. Pantha or patha is what is pathyam, isn't it? So something which is fit for that path. So what is fit for this particular path? For this particular path, chitta shuddhi, etc., they are yoga, all these things, that is the pathyam. So pathyam, aushadha sevacha. Aushadha means a medicine. Aushadha seva means taking medicine. So these things, yena rogina kriyate, that is, they cure only that person who is taking them. A rogi, or rather a person who is, say, who is having sickness. A sick person. Rogi means a sick person. A sick person takes a medicine and then he gets cured. If somebody else takes medicine on his behalf, this sick man is not going to be cured. So that is the point. So, aushadha kriyate yena rogina arogya siddhi drushta asya. Asya means for that man who takes medicine, arogya siddhi drushta. You are seeing, you will be able to see arogya siddhi. He will attain that arogyam. But then, na anyanusthita karmana. Suppose somebody else does that anusthana. Somebody else takes a lot of medicine. But so this man is not cured. So similarly, this Atma Jnana is also like swasthyam. In fact, Atma Jnana is compared to swasthyam. You know the word swasthyam in Sanskrit? Swasthyam means health. Swastha. Ab swastha hai, there is a Hindi word also, swastha. Swasthata, in Telugu also we use that word. Swastha means what? Swasmin sthaha, that is swastha, isn't it? Swasmin sthaha, one who is established in himself is swastha. Swasthyam, in ordinary sense, is health. But swasthyam in this context means this Atma Jnanam, and then be abiding in one's own self, in one's real self, that is realizing that one is not this body-mind complex, one is something beyond this body-mind complex, one is not different from that supreme reality. So that is swasthata in the context of Vedanta. In the context of Vedanta, swastha means realization about his own nature. So that is what is say swasthata. So a man is not having that swasthata because of this disease called ajnana, or rather ignorance. That is, ignorance means wrong perception. He is having wrong ideas about himself. So that wrong ideas have to go away. Once they go away, you realize your real nature. You are not attaining anything new. You are not attaining anything new. Your own real nature you are just realizing. That's all. Nothing new is being achieved here. So this arogya siddhir drushtasya na anyanusthita karmana. So rogam or disease is something which comes and goes. But swasthyam or health is your basic nature. So ajnana is something which comes and goes. But swasthyam, this being one with that supreme reality, is the real nature. So that is what Vedanta says. Then the next shloka also is on the same vein. Vastu swarupam sputa bodha chakshusha svenaiva vedyam natu panditena chandraswarupam nija chakshushaiva jnatavyam anyairava gamyate kim. There is a rhetorical question at the end. That is, Vastu swarupam sputa bodha chakshusha vedyam. That is the real nature of an object. Vastu swarupam. Vastu means an object. Here Vastu means Brahma Vastu or Atma Vastu, the self. Vastu swarupam, the real nature of that self. Sputa bodha chakshusha. Chakshu means eye. Bodha means understanding. Sputa bodha. Sputa means a very clear. So this eye of clear understanding. So the eye or vision or a perfect vision, let us say, the eye of clear understanding. So that alone can reveal you the real nature. That Svenaiva Vedyam. So it is known by you only. Suppose you want to look, you want to know what an object is there in front of you. Only you have to see. If somebody else sees and tells, okay, that is only a secondary knowledge. You have not seen it. You have not known it. So Vastu Swarupam is known Svenaiva Vedyam, Natu Panditena, not by some other Pandita, not by some other scholar. If he tells you about this is Brahma, etc., etc., you are not realizing. So if you want to realize, you have to travel that path. So Chandra Swarupam Nijachakshushaiva Jnatavyam. So if you want to look at the moon and enjoy the beauty of the moon, so usually say moon is associated with some happiness, moonlight is associated with some pleasant experience, happy feeling, etc. So in moonlight, usually in villages particularly, they just go out and then sit in the house and sit out and then enjoy the moonshine. So that is what happens. So Chandra Swarupam Nija Chakshushaiva. Nija means one's own. Nija Chakshusha eva. That is by one's own eye. It is enjoyed. If somebody else looks at the moon and then says, oh, the moon is so beautiful, etc., etc. So that is, you are not able to, you are not enjoying that thing. You are only listening. You are only listening, whereas the other man is enjoying the beauty of that moon. So Chandra Swarupam Nija Chakshushaiva Jnatavyam Anyaihi Avagamyate Kim. If somebody else sees, are you going to enjoy it? You are not going to enjoy it. Anyairavagammyate kim. It has to be known by you only. It can't be known by others. It can't be revealed by others. Then the next shloka also is next shloka also is in the same vein. That is, it is talking about avidya, kama and karma. So avidya is wrong knowledge. Avidya, we know that avidya, though literally it means that na plus vidya is avidya. Vidya means real, real knowledge. Avidya means a sort of unreal knowledge, some false information. Suppose there is something, an object is there, but there is false information about that object. So the same body-mind complex, the so-called I am identifying myself with that body-mind complex, which is the false information. So that is what he is saying. Avidya kama karmadi pashabandham vimochitum kasyaknuyad vinatmanam kalpakoti shatairapi. Avidya kama karma. So avidya is ignorance or wrong understanding. This wrong understanding makes a man feel that he is a limited person. He is a small entity. He is a small person. So he has to derive enjoyment from some external objects. So this avidya, wrong knowledge, it provokes him to do something, some karma. Avidya leads to desire, first of all. Avidya leads to desire because he feels something wanting in him. He doesn't feel or he doesn't realize that he is that Purna. Purna means Purna Swarupa. He doesn't realize that he is one with that Supreme. So he feels that he is limited. So he desires to have something so that after getting that he will feel happy. So he wants happiness from some external objects. So that is what is karma. And then that karma or desire leads to karma, some activity. You want to achieve something, you want to do this, you want to get that, you want to get something else, and then you keep on doing. So avidya is something which is leading to karma, karma is leading to karma, and karma is leading to bondage, because karma is again giving good or bad fruit. So karma, you do some yajna, you do some other dhanam, you do some other charitable act, and all these things, they give some result. Whether it is good or bad, it is giving some result. So that result is a bondage. In order to experience that result, we have to take another janma. So this bondage, vimochitum means in order to get rid of it, in order to get freed from that vimochana, mukti, munch same root. Vimochitum, kasyaknuyad vina atmanam vina, except one's own self. Atmanam vina kasyaknuyat, except one's own self, who will be able to do? Kasyaknuyat. Every shloka there is a rhetorical question. That means there is a negative answer. No one else. Kasyaknuyat. Who will be able to do? No one else will be able to do. Kasyaknuyat vinatmanam kalpakoti shatairapi. Even in thousands and thousands of years, even in fact, not even thousands years, kalpakoti shatairapi. Koti means 10 million is 1 crore, isn't it? Kalpa means one particular creation. So in so many millions of creations, creation itself is a huge span of time. Creation itself is so many billions of years. So then kalpakoti setairapi. So millions of such say creations. So who will be able to get rid of this bondage unless you yourself make effort? Because all this is, say the Acharya is slightly using some Atishayokti. What is called Atishayokti? Atishayokti means hyperbole. In English it is called hyperbole. So that is a little bit of exaggeration in order to emphasize the importance of it. Because in this particular Viveka Chudamani, you come across these hyperboles quite a bit. So in Sanskrit it is called Nahininda Nyaya. Sometimes you either praise a thing, sometimes Arthavada it is also called, but Nahininda Nyaya is something else. Of course we are going to see it in the next shlokas, I will come to that. So here in this particular shloka, you see that avidya is leading to kama, desire, and desire is leading to activity. And dharma and adharma, both are bondage. Whether you do a good act or a bad act, both are leading to a result, and result is a life, and then another birth, etc., etc. Then, again the teacher is talking about the greatness of this Atma Jnana. What is the greatness of this self-knowledge? So he is saying, na yogena na sankhyena karmana no na vidyaya brahmatmaikatva bodhena moksha siddhyati nanyatha. So he is talking about various strategies. So we hear about Patanjali Yoga. Yoga means Patanjali Yoga here. Na sankhyena. Sankhya does not mean what we find in Gita. Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya means Jnanam. Samyak khyayate anena iti sankyam. That was the definition there. So here it is not that. Here Sankhya is different. Here Sankhya is that Chaturvimshati Tattva, the 24 Tattvas which are there in creation. An enumeration. Sankhyayante iti sankyam. That is an enumeration of all these Tattvas, various entities in this whole creation. So that is what is Sankhya. So na yogena, na sankhyena, not by yoga, not by sankhya, na karmana, not by say these rituals and whatnot. That is, rituals means we are referring to this Purva Mimamsa portion. So Shankaracharya is say keeping aside various other say schools. That is not this Patanjali Yoga, not Sankhya of Kapila Maharshi's Sankhya, and not this Purva Mimamsa. No na vidyaya, and not by vidya. Vidya means upasana. Vidya does not mean Brahma Vidya here. Vidya means upasana. Upasana is saguna upasana. That is, say, worshipping a deity with form and attributes. So that is what is saguna upasana. We have seen the saguna upasana aspect in Gita also. 7th Adhyaya we have seen this saguna upasana. And then he says, yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktaha shraddhaya architumichet, etc., etc. He says, that is, one can worship this Supreme Reality in any form. If you are capable of say realizing that Supreme thing without form, it is good. But if you are not able to do that, you can visualize in some form, you can worship any type of form, and then you can get some result. It is not as though it is waste. It is not as though it is wrong. You can worship any form, and the same Supreme Reality, the same say Brahman, that is what is actually present in everything. That is what is giving the result. So that is what we see in Gita also. So this Sagunopasana gives a limited result. It is not as though it is useless. So all these things are also like that. Yoga, Patanjali Yoga, it gives a lot of, say, it leads to what is called Samadhi. Samadhi is that state of equanimity where you are free from all, say, desires, etc. You are free from all things. But then Chitta Vritti also is totally discarded. That is, Chitta Vritti means any type of thought frame moving in the mind. All those things, thought frames are removed and mind is totally free, and then it is totally relaxed. But then once you come out of that Samadhi, you are again back in the world, back in this world. Kapila Sankhya. Sankhya also doesn't lead to moksha, because Sankhya also is, it talks about duality. Kapila, Yoga and Sankhya, they are dualistic doctrines. That is, they talk about Prakriti on one hand and Purusha on the other. Prakriti means this, what is called this creation. This is independent, Prakriti is independent. And Purusha, the intelligent entity, the principle of intelligence, that is something different. So they accept two principles. One is intelligent, the other is non-intelligent, or we can say sentient and insentient, we can say. inside Chaitanya and Jada. Both are accepted. So this Jadam or Prakriti is totally independent in their view, according to their say philosophy. Whereas Vedanta says that it is only one thing which is existing, non-dual. And what is that one thing? That one thing is that Shuddha Chaitanya. That Shuddha Chaitanya is appearing as this whole universe. It is having the capacity to appear as this whole universe. The universe, what we see, is not totally unreal. It is not totally real. So that is why it is said Sadasadbhyam Anirvachaniyam. You can't say it is totally unreal, like a flower in the sky, Kapushpam. Not totally unreal, and then it is not as though it is totally real also. Once you know the Brahman, the nature of supreme reality, so all this thing appears as Brahman. All this is negated. So this is something which is negatable. So that is what Vedanta says. So that is why Karna na yogena, na sankhyena. Yoga leads only to one level. Sankhya also leads to another level. Karma mimamsa. Karma, where does it lead? Karma means that is some yajna, yaga, etc., etc. You go to some heavenly world. So after that heavenly world, after the tenure is over, like the visa is over, you have to return. So like that, once the visa expires, you have to return. So it is like that. Karma is like that. You are in a heavenly world for some particular time, and then you come back. Na vidyaya, upasana also is of the same nature. Then brahmatmaikatva bodhena moksha siddhyati nanyatha. So this moksha or liberation, it is achieved only by brahmatmaikatva bodha. That is, bodha means understanding. What sort of understanding? Brahmatmaikatva bodha. That is the oneness of Brahman and one's own self. Brahman is not different from one's own self, or rather one's own self, my own self is not different from that. So this is what we see in that, in this particular shloka. But we can also see here one or two more points. That is, here it should not be wrongly understood that all these things are totally useless. Because in Gita also we come across, for example, Karma Yoga. Gita talks about Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is also a strategy. Then Gita talks about Patanjali Yoga also. It talks about Atma Sanyama, how you have to do this pranayama, Atma Sanyama, etc., etc. It talks. And then Gita talks about Bhakti, what we call Vidya here. Vidya, the word Vidya, is referring to Saguna Upasana. You can't discard all these things. All these things are sadhanani. But then sadhanam, which is the highest sadhanam, that we have to see. The highest sadhanam is jnanam only. The distinction between all other sadhanas and say jnanam is, it can be understood by an example which usually Swami Akhandananda Saraswati gives. Akhandananda Maharaj gives the example of a defective eye. Suppose I want to see some object in front of me. I can see it only when my eye is perfect. Suppose there is some defect in the eye. So I have to take some medicine, I have to go to some eye doctor, maybe maybe it may require some, say, cataract operation or something like that, and after all that, then again I come and see. So when eye is defective, I cannot see that. When eye is cured of it by taking some medicine or something like that, then I can see that. So this eye, when it is a question of seeing, it can be seen only by the eye and not by the medicine. The object can be seen only by the eye, a clear eye, a capable eye, and not by the medicine. But medicine also is needed in order to cure the eye, make it perfect. So this is the example which he gives. So that is, the medicine is needed to remove a defect in the eye, but medicine is not needed for the eye to look at, medicine is not needed to look at that thing. So that is the difference. So this is what we have to see. That is, what is the, say, eye here? In order to know this Brahman, clear mind, Chitta Shuddhi. Chitta Shuddhi, isn't it? If the mind is impure, if it is impure like a very dirty glass, a dirty mirror, let us say, there is a sun light falling on the mirror, and then the mirror is not able to reflect because there is a lot of dirt on the mirror. So one has to clean that whole thing. Only after that is cleaned, then you can see the reflection. So this cleaning process, like medicine, in the case of eye, this cleaning process is what is sadhana. This cleaning process is what is done by karma yoga, dhyana yoga, then what is this upasana, etc., etc. So sadhanam is something, and again this sadhana and sadhya we know. Sadhana, if you say that karma is a sadhanam, with that karma what is it we are going to achieve? With that karma we are going to achieve some heavenly world, etc., etc. So this sadhanam is having certain defects. This whatever is achieved by sadhanam is having some defects. That is, number one, it is something which is utpadyam. There are certain technical words here. Utpadyam. Utpadyam means something which is newly created, which is not there, but it is newly created. Utpadyam. Then it is also apyam. Apyam means something which is newly attained. It is something which is created. It is something which is newly attained. Once it is created means it can also be destroyed. Then it is something which is apyam, that is, it can be attained. Then it can be samskaryam. Samskaryam means, suppose in Veda mantras there are certain rituals which purify certain things. You take some water, you recite some mantra and then sprinkle that water on that, and then it is said to be purified. That is what is called samskara. Then it is also vikaryam. It can also be changed. Something which is produced by you, suppose a cell phone which is produced by you, every year it undergoes a change. Every 3 months it undergoes a change. So it is something which is a vikarya. Vikaryam is something which can be modified. But moksha doesn't fall under this category. Moksha is something which is a siddha vastu. Sadhyam is, sadhana leads to some sadhya vastu which is having all these defects. It is utpadyam, samskaryam, apyam, etc., etc. Whereas moksha is a siddha vastu. Siddha vastu means which is already there, which is already your nature. So which means that it is not having the defects say of that sadhya vastu. So sadhyam and siddha vastu, this difference we have to see this. So jnana is needed to know that siddha vastu. So brahmatmaikatva bodhena moksha siddhyati na anyatha. So jnanam is definitely the ultimate sadhana. That is, like eye is the ultimate sadhana to have a clear vision of an object. Jnanam is the final, say, pramana. Pramana means the means for valid knowledge. Jnanam is the only means for valid knowledge and not all other things. All other things, of course, they have some value. It is not as though you have to totally discard them. So that one point we have to see here. So we should not think that Shankaracharya is just totally in one go, he is discarding karma yoga, all these things. It is not like that. Then he also talks about the greatness of self-knowledge. He is telling, continuing, the next shloka, 57th shloka, Veenaya rupa saundaryam tantri vadana saushthavam prajaranjana matram tat na samrajyaya kalpate. So he is taking the example of a musician. A musician has a beautiful, very beautiful veena. A veena gives such melodious music, and that veena is a stringed instrument, That stringed instrument, you have to play those strings and then you have to slightly pull those strings. And then once you play those strings, you produce fantastic music. So veenayaha rupa saundaryam. So the beauty of that great veena, rupa saundaryam is the beauty of that veena. Tantri vadana saushthavam. Saushthavam means sushtu, means perfect. Sushtu means perfect. Saushthavam means perfection. Tantri vadana saushthavam. So that is perfection in playing those strings. Tantri means string. Tantri, that metallic string. Then vadana, tantri vadana saushthavam, that is the perfection in playing those strings, etc. They are all for prajaranjana matram tat, only to entertain people. Prajaranjanam. It is basically to entertain people and not for samrajyaya kalpate, not for that heavenly, not for that supreme samrajyam, that highest samrajyam called self-knowledge. This self-knowledge is also compared to samrajyam. So this in Vedic mantras also samrajyam, bhojyam, something like that. The samrajya, the word samrajya is something which is a word which is used for knowledge, self-knowledge. So na samrajyaya kalpate. And in fact the word Raja also it can be understood here. What is the meaning of word Raja? Raja means Ranjayati iti Raja. One who keeps people happy by his very benevolent rule. By his great benevolent rule, he keeps people happy. He is called Raja, Ranjayati. So this Praja Ranjana Matram. So this musician also is doing Ranjanam. But then this musician is doing Ranjanam in a very, very limited way. He plays a music and then all the people just listen and go away. And then they are back into their day-to-day problems. But whereas a king, he can rule in such a way that they feel happy, they feel secure, their food is assured, their security is assured. So that is the difference between a musician and a king. So that is why Prajaranjana Matram Tat na Samrajyaya Kalpate. He can't be called a king. So he cannot be said to be having a kingdom. Samrajyam is a kingdom. Then the next shloka also is something which has to be carefully read. This is quite often quoted. It is quite often quoted by certain lazy people who do not want to read books. So, Vagvaikari Shabdajari Shastra Vyakhyana Kaushalam Vaidushyam Vidusham Tadvat Bhuktaye Natu Muktaye. Vaidushyam Vidusham Tadvat Bhuktaye Natu Muktaye. Vaidushyam means scholarship, scholasticism. Vaidushyam, Vidusha, Vidwan. That Vaidushyam is scholasticism, scholarship, let us say. Vaidushyam, Vidusham Vaidushyam, the scholarship of scholars, is Tadvat. Tadvat means it is like that earlier one. It is like that Veena Vadanam. In the earlier shloka we talked about Veena Vadanam, this playing of this Veena. So this scholarship of these people also is like that. What type of scholarship he is describing that scholarship? Vagvaikari. Vak means speech. Vagvaikari. All the great nuances of language. Vagvaikari. He knows all the nuances of language. He knows all the stylistics, let us say. Vagvaikari. Shabda Jhari. Jhari means a stream which flows down from a mountain. From top of a mountain, a stream which flows down. Usually it flows with great speed. Depending on the height of the mountain or hill, it moves with great speed, isn't it? Sometimes we also go and stand under it and then feel that pressure falling on us. So something like a torrential fall. So this Shabda Jhari, his words, Shabda means all the words. The words, they flow from his mouth like that huge jhari which is coming, a torrential flow of words from his mouth. So he knows all the nuances of language, he knows all stylistics. Then there is a Shabda Jhari, a torrential flow of words. Then Shastra Vyakhyana Kaushalam. Kaushalam means again skill. Shastra Vyakhyana, commenting on that. Vyakhyana, for the word Vyakhya, there is a definition for Vyakhya. What is actually a Vyakhya? That is, there is a shloka for that, Padachhedaha, Padarthoktihi. For example, when I am reading something, Padachhedaha. So suppose I read a shloka, I should know what is a Padachheda, how the words are split, how the words have to be split. Padachhedaha. Then Padarthoktihi, Padasya Arthasya Vuktihi. That is, I have to tell the meaning of those words. Padarthoktihi. Padartha means the meaning of a word. Padarthoktihi. Then Vigraho Vakya Yojana. This Vigraha, suppose there is a Samasa. For that Samasa, I have to tell the Vigraha Vakyam. For any Samasa, for a composite word, I have to explain the meaning of that composite word. Vigraho, Vakya Yojana. What is the construction of the sentence? That construction of the sentence is Vakya Yojana. Then Akshepasya Samadhanam. There is some question in between. Any question, suppose the student asks a question, I should be able to answer that question. Akshepasya Samadhanam. We should be able to reply. All these things, Vyakhyanam Panchalakshanam. So Vyakhyanam is Panchalakshanam. It has 5 features, it seems. Vyakhyanam has 5 features. Padachhedaha, Padarthoktihi, Vigraho, Vakya Yojana, Akshepasya Samadhanam. So this is what is the definition of this Vyakhyanam. So we are now talking about all these scholars who have the great ability to Vyakhyanam. So he goes into the semantics, he goes into the etymology, he goes into the root, all Panini's Vyakarana he can quote, etc., etc. So all this Vagvaikari, Shabdajari, Shastra, Vyakhyana Kaushalam, Vaidushyam, Vidusham, Tadvat. The scholarship of all these people is comparable to that Veena Vadanam only, like that musician. Why? Bhuktaye, natu muktaye. It is only for Bhuktaye. It is only for earning his livelihood and not for mukti, not for release, because a man is stuck there only. So here what we have to see is carefully that Shankaracharya is a man who has written commentaries. Shankaracharya is a man who has produced a whole corpus of literature. He is not a man who was just sitting in some corner and only doing some meditation. He produced a whole mass of literature, and then of course, a jnani can also do various things. In Bhagavad Gita, you come across the word called jnani karma. A jnani is enthusiastically doing karma, but it doesn't appear to be a karma. So when Shankaracharya is writing all these things, writing Gita Bhashyam or Upanishad Bhashyam or some Brahmasutra Bhashyam, it does not mean that he is totally engaged in some sort of warlike mood. So he is not in a war mode or war mood. So he is at his equanimity, he is having that equanimity. While having that equanimity, he is said to have composed all that. So that is how we have to understand. Because jnani karma is only a karma abhasa. Jnani karma, just if you want to recall what we learnt in Gita, a person can do karma yoga, and then he can simply he will not aspire for the fruit of that action. So karma phala is not there. A jnani also, he may do karma, like for example, like King Janaka. There is something, a prarabdha karma, which is he is established as a king. So as a king, he does some, he has to rule the people. Then similarly a saint, a Swamiji or some Paramahamsa Parivrajaka, let us say like Shankaracharya, that Shankaracharya can also teach other people. He can also write to commentaries, basically to help others, basically out of great compassion for humanity. So out of compassion for humanity, he writes all that. So it does not mean that scholarship is not needed. Because we have seen earlier also, you have to go to a Shrotriya Brahmanishta. Shankaracharya himself is saying you have to go to somebody who is well read and also who has realized. Both components are there. There should be erudition, knowledge, and also realization. So here what we have to take is, we have to take it in the sense of that nahi ninda nyayam. I was just telling about nahi ninda nyayam. It means when you are censoring a thing, when you are finding fault with a thing, it is not as though you are totally condemning it, but your intention is to praise the other thing. Your intention is to praise something else. So here, when you are censoring or when you are commenting or ridiculing Vagvaikari, Shabdajari, etc., you are not really totally condemning them. You are praising Brahmagyana. You are praising sadhana. Sadhana means that meditation, etc., this contemplation, meditation not in this ordinary sense, but in the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. So you are praising that jnana path, and you are not totally condemning these things. That we have to keep in mind. Nahi nindya nyaya, the definition is, nahi ninda nindyam ninditum pravartate apitu stutyam stotum. It is not, the intention is not to condemn one thing, the intention is to praise what is the subject matter there. The subject matter here is Atma Jnana. The idea of Shankaracharya is to praise Atma Jnana, not totally condemn all other things. Just to emphasize that, he is saying Vagvaikari, Shabdajari, etc., etc. So the idea is, don't get stuck there. Knowledge is not condemned, but getting stuck at that level only is condemned. What we call Shastra Vasana. He is going to say in the later, in one of the later slokas, he is going to say Shastra Vasana, etc. Shastra Vasana means always trying to accumulate more and more theoretical knowledge, very equipping oneself for all types of conferences and all types of debates, debating with scholars, etc., etc. That may be needed. That may be needed in order to have clarity in a Shastra. That may be needed, but that is not leading him. That is not giving him any internal change. In the sense, this Brahmajnana is associated with some internal transformation. So the Chitta Shuddhi has to take place, and after that Chitta Shuddhi, he has to have that realization. So the Shastra Jnana may give him more ego. Shastra Jnana, in fact, debates and all that, all the certificates, all the degrees, etc., it may give him greater sense of I. Whereas in Brahmajnana, you have to lose that sense of I. You have to totally lose that sense of I. So that is what we have to carefully see. So then the next shloka also is in the same vein. Avijñāte pare tattve shastradhītistu nishphala. Vijñātepi pare tattve shastradhītistu nishphala. So here again it is same thing. Avijñāte pare tattve. When this paratattvam is not known, avijñāte pare tattve sati. So that's sati saptami. Pare tattve avijñāte sati. That is when that supreme knowledge, when the reality of that supreme thing is not known. Para means supreme. Yeah. Tattva means the thisness of the thing. That is the real nature, let us say. The real nature of the supreme is not known. When that is not known, Shastra adhitistu nishphala. Shastra adhiti. All the knowledge of scriptures is something which is nishphala. It is useless. Nishphala. It is useless because you are not doing any type of contemplation on that. You are not doing Shravana Manana Nididhyasana. You are only debating with people. You are only saying, oh, that particular line has to be interpreted in that manner. According to this Panini Sutra, you have to do this. According to this Mimamsa Nyaya, you have to interpret like that. But you are not doing this Manana Nididhyasana, etc. So that is the point. So when the supreme knowledge is not known, that supreme thing is not known, then all your knowledge, all your scholasticism is something which is useless. And in the next line he says, when that knowledge is there, when you attain that thing, then again this scholasticism is of no use. Scholasticism is of no use if you do not have that knowledge. When you have that knowledge also, it is of no use. So it is a figure of speech. Vijñātepi pare tattve. Pare tattve vijñātepi. Vijñāte sati. That is, even when it is known. The first situation is when you do not know, you are only having scholasticism. You don't have knowledge of Brahman. The second situation is you have knowledge of Brahman. Then, once you have knowledge of Brahman, all this scholasticism is of no use. Of course, it may be useful for teaching somebody else. For you, it is of no use because it is like climbing a ladder. Suppose you have to climb to the next, the first floor. You have taken a ladder and come up. Then after you go there, you are supposed to be there, let us say you are supposed to be there only. There is no need for this ladder. So it is like that. Shastradhitistu nishphala. Once it is known also, it is something, it is useless. So Shastradhiti is only a means which will lead you to a higher goal. And once that goal is reached, so this adhiti or this knowledge is something which is like a ladder which is dropped off. Then the next shloka also is to be carefully understood because this shloka also is quite often quoted by people. I told you some lazy people who do not want to read books, who do not want to read Gita Bhashyam or any other Bhashyam. Those people say, no, what is the use of reading books? You can straight away become enlightened. So that is something which is dangerous. A man may become straight away enlightened provided he has got that Chitta Shuddhi. But he has no idea about what type of territory he is entering. Suppose somebody who with all our raga, dvesha, with all the impurities in mind, suddenly it occurs to him, okay, let me read Gita, it is very, very fashionable. Brahma Jnanam is something which I can attain. So suppose he comes with that frame of mind. So he doesn't know the territory which he is entering. So he has to first of all realize that what is needed here is cleaning of the mind. For that cleaning of the mind, a lot of preparatory action from his side, a lot of preparatory action has to be done. Starting with Karma Yoga, which is the easiest thing. Then you have to go to this Atma Sanyama, slowly this Atma Sanyama. You should control your senses. This Shama, Dama, etc. All these things are not very easy. So once you have all that, then only you can identify, you can see that the oneness between this self and the supreme reality. So that is something which is not merely an intellectual activity. So when Shankaracharya is condemning mere intellectual activity, it does not mean all these things are totally useless. The same Nahi Ninda Nyayam which I said earlier, we have to understand here also. So the next shloka is Shabda Jalam Maharanyam Chitta Brahmana Karanam. So this line is quoted quite often. Shabda Jalam Maharanyam. So it is like a huge forest. It is like a huge jungle. atah prayatnat jnatavyam tattvajnais tattvamatmanah. So he says, Shabda Jalam Maharanyam. Shabda Jalam. Jalam means big net. So Jala, Indra Jala you say. Indra's net. So in the Shabda Jala is saw all this net of verbiage. Shabda Jalam. All this great net of verbiage. That is, you take any Shastra, there is a lot of jargon, isn't it? So there is a lot of terminology. So that jargon or terminology is that Shabda Jalam. So this is somewhat like a huge jungle, Maharanyam. And then in this jungle, when you enter the jungle, I don't know whether you have ever walked into the jungle, walked in a jungle without a map and a compass or without a GPS. Of course, compass is the old system. Now, of course, GPS. If you walk in a jungle without GPS, and you do not know where you are going, so you may be just running, roaming around there and there and there only, and then ultimately from morning till evening you move and then come back to the same point. It happens. From morning till evening you just move in the jungle and then come back to the same point. You can't reach your destination. So Chitta Brahmana Karanam. So Chittam also, it roams in the same way. Chittam means the mind. The mind moves in the same way like a person moves in a jungle without any direction. So in a jungle, if you want to move, of course now you can move without anybody's help. So in olden days, of course, you needed somebody who was a forest dweller, who knew the forest, who knew from one village from point A to point B if he had to go. So he used to take a guide and then go. But now you don't need a guide. Your GPS is the guide. So Chitta Brahmana Karanam. Chitta Brahmana. You keep on moving in various Shastras. Suddenly you come across this Guru. Then suddenly somebody says, no, that Guru is better. You go to that Guru. And suddenly you come across another book. Oh, this book, this commentary is said to be very great. So that is what we say. Gita also says, Lord Krishna says, Shruti vipratipanna te yada sthasyati nischala samadha vachala buddhihi. Sthita prajna in that context. Shruti vipratipanna te yada sthasyati nischala samadhau vachala buddhi. When your buddhi, which is now Shruti vipratipanna. Shruti vipratipanna means the Shrutis are so many, they are multitudinous. There are so many Shrutis. This one Shruti says, okay, you do this yajna. Another time Shruti says, you do this particular yajna. Because a human being is having so many types of ambitions, so many types of goals, so many types of desires. And depending on each man's desire, there is somebody which is custom made, some ritual which is custom made. Yogam, this Veda, Purvabhagam, the first initial portions of the Veda, they are like various customized portions for various desires. If you want putra, if you want a son, you do this putra kameshti. If you want rain, you do this kari reshti. If you want something else, you do this. So like that, various types of yajnas and various types of rituals and procedures have been prescribed, isn't it? So all that thing, people have been roaming around. The mind keeps on roaming around without having any stability. So Chitta Brahmana Karanam. Atah prayatnat jnatavyam. Prayatnat, with great effort, one has to know. Prayatnat jnatavyam, one has to know. Tattvajnaihi tattvam atmanaha. Atmanaha tattvam means the reality of one's own self. Tattvam. Tattvam atmanaha. That is the reality of one's own self. Tattvajnaihi jnatavyam. From the people who know that tattvam, you can know the reality of it. So here also, it is not as though Shankaracharya is condemning, this Shruti. We should not say that he is condemning all that Shruti. You need not read any book, you need not read Gita, you can simply have this, Atmagyanam, etc. This is something which is a shortcut which our people do not realize, because that ego level has not yet come down. That is the basic problem. Then the next shloka also, in the same manner, Ajnana sarpadashtasya brahmajnana ushadham vina kimu vedaisya shastraisya kimu mantraih kimaushadhaihi. Ajnana sarpadashtasya. So there is somebody who is bitten by a snake, and the snake is ajnana, ignorance. Somebody who is bitten by that snake called ignorance. So for that, what is the aushadham, what is the medicine? Brahmajnanam is the medicine for that. So this ajnana is like a snake, is somewhat similar to our, say, the snake and Eve and Adam and Eve, somewhat similar to that. So, Ajnana Sarpam. So, this Sarpam, a serpent is Ajnana. This Ajnana is biting that fellow. And then because of that Ajnana, biting of that Ajnana Sarpa, a man is doing karma, he is falling into desire, karma, etc., etc., bandham, and again for next birth, etc., etc. So for that, what is the medicine? Brahmajnana. Brahmajnana aushadam vina. So that Brahmajnana is the aushadam. That is what is needed. Kimu vedaischa shastraischa, kimu mantraih, kim aushadhai. Suppose there is a person who is suffering from a snake bite. For him, if you read some Vedas, it is of no use. If you tell some Shastra Charcha, it is of no use. Kimu mantraihi kim aushadhai, you read some mantras and recite some mantras, it is of no use. So for that, this aushadhai, various aushadha, various other medicines also do not work, except this Brahmajnana aushadham, except this medicine called Jnanam. No other medicine works. So this Jnanam is the only medicine, knowledge is the only medicine in order to relieve a person who is bitten by that snake called ignorance. So that is the meaning of this thing. Then now Shankaracharya is now saying this knowledge is something which has to be aparoksha. Aparoksha means, now all this while he has been talking about scholasticism and then how it is not very grateful, not highly useful. So he is now saying, okay, you may have all this knowledge about, say, okay, this is what is Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, you will be able to interpret so well. But then one has to have that real experience. If you don't have that real experience, you are only, equipped with a lot of terminology. So that is what he says. Na gacchati vinapanam vyadhi raushadha shabdatah vina parokshanubhavam brahma shabdairna muchyate. So he says, vyadhihi aushadha shabdatah na gacchati. Panam vina na gacchati. That is, panam vina na gacchati. Vyadhihi. Vyadhi means a disease, a sickness. Aushadha shabdatah. By merely listening to the word called medicine. Suppose somebody is sick and you say, okay, you take this particular medicine, some medicine, okay, you mention some medicine, okay, the name, let us say aspirin. I don't immediately get the name of any medicine. Suppose you say aspirin. So by just listening to the name aspirin, headache doesn't go. One has to take that aspirin. So that is what he says. Vyadhihi aushadha shabdatah. By merely listening to that sound, it does not go. Vina panam. Vina panam means without taking it in. Without taking it in. Na gacchati. It does not go. Then vina aparokshanubhavam brahma shabdaihi na muchyate. Brahma shabdaihi. If you merely say aham brahmasmi, tattvamasi, etc., etc., by mere words, na muchyate. A person is not free. Now he is not freed. He is not liberated. Vina aparokshanubhavam. Except by realization, aparokshanubhavam. He has to feel it. He has to. That is what is aparokshanubhavam. Parokshanubhava, paroksha jnanam is something. Aparoksha anubhuti is different. Aparoksha anubhuti is really one has to feel, at least to some extent. So that is what is the effort. That is what is the effort we do in Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana. Shravana is understanding the meaning of various lines which talk about the oneness of Jiva and Brahman. That is what is Shravanam. And having heard, you have to remove all your doubts by logically validating and dwelling on what you have learnt, and then questioning yourself, questioning the teacher, and then validating it. That is what is Mananam. And Nididhyasanam is applying to yourself that yes, this is what, and being firmly in that particular state of awareness. So that is Nididhyasanam. So that Nididhyasanam, it can be a temporary Nididhyasanam, and after that again you come back into this world of duality, or in a highly realized soul, Paramahamsa. So in such a highly realized person, he is always in that level of awareness. So that is what is Aparokshanubhava. So vina parokshanubhavam, merely by the word Brahma, a person is not freed. Then the next question also is like that. Next shloka also is like that. Akrutva drushya vilayam ajñatva tattvamatmanah brahma shabdaih kuto muktihi uktimatra phalair nrunam. By mere word called Brahma, there is no liberation. The sum and substance of it is that. Akrutva drushya vilayam ajñātva tattvam atmanah. Atmanah tattvam ajñātva. That is by not knowing the nature of one's own self. Atmanah tattvam means the nature of one's own self. Ajñātva, having not realized. And akrutva drushya vilayam, and having not dissolved this drushyam. Drushya vilayam means dissolution of whatever is drushyam. Akrutva, having not done it. What is this drushya vilayam? So that is dissolution of all resolution or dissolution of the drushya. So here there are two technical words which are used here by Shankaracharya. One is drushya and the other is vilayam. Drushya means what? Whatever we see in this whole world universe is drushya. Whatever is the seer, suppose drushya means something which is seen. Then once you can say something is seen only when there is a seer, when there is somebody who is seeing it. So that means there is a distinction between the seer and the seen. So who is the seer here? I. That notion of I, that the very first experience in any being is that awareness about one's own self. I exist, something which is that I is something which exists. It is something which is non-negatable. When I close my eyes, I do not know whether the world is there or not. I can't be sure, but I am there. I can't negate myself. When I fall asleep, I do not know whether the world is there or not. But when I wake up, I see the world, so I think that world is always there. So that is something which is taken for granted. But this I, that notion of I is something which cannot be negated. So the I becomes the seer. I am the knower. And this knower is characterized by what is called Chaitanya, Shuddha Chaitanya, or intelligence, or awareness. All words are almost, they are synonymous. You call it consciousness, you call it intelligence, you call it awareness. All these are synonymous. So you are equipped with that knowledge, you are equipped with that awareness or consciousness. That consciousness is the real nature self. And all that which is different from that consciousness is something which is jada, which is seen, which is drushya. Isn't it? So all that drushya, vilayam is another technical word. So druk and drushya we have known. Druk is the seer and drushya means something which is seen. What all is different from you, what all can be separated from you is all drushyam. And Bhagavad Gita says your own body-mind complex is also a drushyam. Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yogam, our own body-mind complex, which is the product of the five elements, say both gross and subtle. So this whole body-mind complex is a drushyam. And you are something different. That is what Gita says. So druk and drushyam are two words. Then what is vilayam? Vilayam means dissolution. Dissolution means what? That is seeing an effect as another form of the cause. Suppose I see the effect. I see some pen. So some pen, suppose it is made of some plastic or something like that. I see this pen as plastic, and plastic is something which is not different from earth. I see this thing as not different from earth. The whole universe which I see in front of me, it is not different from the five. It is just the five elements which I am seeing. The five elements, and also the body, my own body, the mind, body-mind complex, etc., is not different from the external world. That is, whatever is inside is what is there outside. And this, not only the human being, even an ant, even any animal, any living being or any non-living thing, all these things, they are only different forms of the same five elements, isn't it? So ultimately, my body-mind complex, I am resolving into the five elements. That is what is called resolving. That is, I am doing laya or vilaya of my body-mind complex into the five elements. And the five elements can be resolved back into that Atma. Atmanaha Akasha Sambhutaha Akashadvaihu, as Taittiriya Upanishad says, it can be resolved back into that Hiranyagarbha. And Hiranyagarbha can be resolved back into that supreme reality. So that is what is called Vilaya. That is the Karya Karana Viveka. Karya Karana Viveka means a Karya or an effect is not different from its Karanam. So this Karya, don't look at Karya as that, as Karya itself. You look at the Karana. And that Karana can be resolved back into its Karanam. and that karanam can be resolved back into the original, whatever is that original karanam. So that original karanam is that supreme reality. So that is what is called vilayam. So drushya vilayam akrutva, without having done that drushya vilayam, without having resolved all these things, that is, do not see the world as the world, but look at it as the karanam. Look at it as karanam means look at it as Brahman. So that is what is drushya vilayam. Drushya vilayam means not seeing the effect as an effect, but seeing the effect as the cause. What is the ultimate cause? You are seeing that ultimate cause here. So that is what is drushya vilayam. So without having done that and without knowing the nature of one's own self, Brahma shabdaihi kuto muktihi, by merely saying Brahma, Brahma, etc., where is the realization? Where is mukti? Where is freedom? Not realization, but freedom. Realization leads to freedom, isn't it? Realization that one is not bound, it is the sense of freedom. Otherwise, he was feeling always bound. Kuto muktihi, uktimatra phalaihi, nodam, uktimatra phalaihi. Uktimatra means by merely words. By merely words, where is the question of liberation, or where is the question of freedom? So we'll continue in the next class. Harihi Om Tat Sat.